I quit. I quit my day job to be an entrepreneur full time. And it was a good, high paying job too, making multiple six figures as a principal electrical engineer, doing groundbreaking and rewarding work in the commercial space industry, which I love. And not only that, I turned down an even better paying electrical engineering job offer I got the day after I quit.
Oh, no, thanks.
I did this even though I don't have a side business yet and therefore no income outside my day job. Why would I do this? What have I learned in the last 30 years I've been at this that has led me to this decision? I'm married with 2 kids, a house, 2 cars, and some other financial obligations. How am I going to make money to support my family? What if it doesn't work? And if you're in a similar position thinking of doing the same thing, should you? I'm going to answer all those questions in this video and share some very personal and emotional things that have happened to me in the last 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad, and what I've learned from all of it. Mainly to gain clarity for myself, but hopefully this also helps some other people out there. And I've got my phone with some notes on it to help me get through this. So first, let's get into why I'm doing this with $0 in outside revenue right now. Well, I've been trying to make side businesses work since I was a teen, 30 years ago. I'll be honest, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I saw my first get-rich-quick infomercial on late-night TV as a teenager. I knew what I was watching on TV was probably a scam, but I still believed it was possible to somehow make thousands of dollars on my own without having to punch a clock for someone else. And from that moment, I was hooked, and that's where my journey began before the World Wide Web was even a thing. And since then, I have mostly made a ton of mistakes, but I did have some success along the way. What I have found is it's really hard getting something off the ground while working or going to school full-time with little or no money. I have tried and failed most of the time. That moonlighting approach to bootstrapping the side business only worked out for me one time when I was able to replace my income with a passive income business for a period of 5 years. And that was after trying again and again for 20 years of my life. I was one of those kids that thought I would make my fortune by 30 years old, and then when I failed to achieve that by 30, I pushed the goal back to 35, then 40 years old. I'm 47 years old now, pushing 50. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that the closest I've come so far was back in my 30s with that passive income business that I screwed up and failed to scale. So what happened with that failure and what did I learn from it? Back then, my wife and I were about to have our first kid and my business income took a major hit. I decided to try freelancing part-time to make extra money temporarily while I built my business back up. But freelancing quickly grew into a 40-hour per week job that seemed a little more secure for starting a family. So for 2 agonizing years, I mostly watched as my 20-year dream business withered away and died. It makes me a little sad when I think about it like that, but as it was happening over such a long, relatively joyous period of time in my life, raising 2 young kids, and even now, I don't regret it. I'm at peace with it. I look at my wife and my kids now, and they are everything to me. So I know it was totally worth it. So I've learned that family is the most important thing to me, no matter what happens. And anyway, while I was self-employed, we made the most of it with 2 high-paying careers, putting almost all our extra income toward becoming debt-free, saving and investing to get where we are now, which I think was an important factor in my decision to quit, which I'll explain later. So on my entrepreneurial journey, I went from high school student to college student to employee to business owner to self-employed, and somehow back to employee again. And during that whole cycle, I've always either been working on a side business or looking for and planning the next one while consuming as much startup business related content as possible in between. I would also funnel a lot of income from my various jobs into my businesses. So startup businesses have always been that one common thread that has always been an interest of mine that I almost never got tired of thinking about and pursuing. Toward the end of that 8 years of self-employment that killed my first really successful business, telling myself that as a freelancer I was still a small business owner with some autonomy and tax advantages really started to get old and I needed to change. An opportunity came up, and long story short, I somehow ended up with a high-paying, high-status full-time engineering job with a commercial aerospace company. Following the space and commercial space industries had become a hobby of mine, and it seemed like it might be a good fit where I could do something I was really interested in at a higher level and not be on the hook for all the detailed engineering work and deliverables all the time, so I could limit my time to 40 hours per week and start my next side business. But I was wrong. A new job, especially one with that much responsibility really demands all of your time and creative energy. And it turned out the further away I got on the employment spectrum from business owner entrepreneur, the more miserable and unfulfilled I was. After just a few weeks on that job, I started dreading work every day. And that dread grew every week and every month I continued to work there. This demotivated me from doing anything else on the side, and I instead spent what little free time I had with family and on other hobbies and forms of escapism to keep my mind off my full-time job in an attempt to keep my sanity. Now, layered on top of that part of my journey, a few things also happened in my personal life that had a huge impact on me emotionally and are probably actually the biggest reasons why I finally quit everything to focus on my own thing. First, my dad passed away shortly after we started having kids. My daughter wasn't even 2 when he died, so of course she will never really know her pop-pop, except from old family photos and videos. And my dad never even got to meet my son, his grandson, who wasn't born until 2 years after he passed, let alone watch him be a grandpa and develop a relationship with his grandkids. So I regretted not having kids sooner, but it wasn't just that. I regretted not doing a lot of things sooner, like marrying my wife and paying off all our debt and investing that $10,000 into Bitcoin like I had planned in 2012. I always had the desire in those situations, I just didn't act or act forcefully enough to steer my life in a different direction. Now, my mom is getting older, and recently, a couple people very close to me have become sick with some very serious stuff I won't go into, but it's looking like they may not be around for much longer, and that really starts to put things into perspective. My mindset has totally shifted. I've gone from thinking I have at least 25 to 30 years left to thinking it could totally be 5 to 10 years. But I also realize I'm still not able to spend all the time I want with these people to develop the relationships I want with them with the time that we have left. So now the consequences of not acting sooner in my life to have the freedom of time and money I should have had by now are starting to show again. So here's what I learned from all of that and what I plan to do about it. The first thing obviously is life is short, live it now, and also be true to yourself. Believing one thing deep in your heart but acting differently every day is a recipe for a mild to severe unhappiness and even moments of absolute dread. If you find yourself in that situation like I did, make sure it's only temporary and do it only as long as absolutely necessary. Since I quit my job and got back on the path to being an entrepreneur again, I have never been happier. I wake up looking forward to my work every day, and I'm working harder and learning more than ever before. Now that my actions are finally almost 100% in alignment with my beliefs and thoughts, that inner conflict, what I've heard is called cognitive dissonance, is gone. The only time I feel any kind of anxiety is when I'm not working on my business. So what now for me? And what if it doesn't work? I heard some advice lately that I think is spot on for me and might also be helpful to you. And that is to figure out what you are internally motivated to do and to build a life around that. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't care what other people think or about other external motivators like status or salary anymore. Since startup businesses have always been that one common thread that has always been an interest of mine that I never got tired of pursuing, I'm going to build a life around it. I'm going to start with what I think I know works and have been successful with in the past, but do it better while avoiding mistakes I made before. The industry has changed, but so have I. I'm wiser, more motivated, skilled, and disciplined than ever. I will also branch out into other things and iterate faster. Looking back, I realize I only tried about 10 different things over the course of 30 years to find success, and I now know that's way too long to spread that kind of effort. So I'm going to try more things faster with the hopes of finding my next success within the next 2 years or so. And I'm going to capture that journey right here on this YouTube channel or any other social media platform I can gain traction on. This channel is going to be my own little startup studio and be all about my search for that fast money, relatively speaking, but also about finding legit side business ventures that are sustainable, not just in the market, but also things that suit a specific lifestyle I'm looking for, which is that bootstrapped lifestyle business to generate passive income and eventually sold for life-changing amounts of money. Hopefully that's something a lot of people out there would be interested in and decide to join me on this adventure. But what if it doesn't work? So I have learned from past success, it will eventually work. It's not a matter of if, but when. So then the real question is, how much runway do I have? How long can I keep this up? Well, the good thing about living well below our means, paying off all our debt, and saving for the last 10 years is that we are pretty financially secure, even on one income. Fortunately, my wife is very fulfilled in her career with no plans to change direction, So technically, barring any major circumstances, the runway is infinite, in theory. In reality, we do need to finish funding our retirement and college for our kids, so right now that is the main constraint that would limit the time horizon on this endeavor to about 2 to 3 years. If something random goes wrong, I can always go back to consulting. I've already turned down 2 consulting opportunities since I quit my job, and my resume is way better now than it was the first time I got into consulting, so I'm not at all worried about that. I am confident that if I can try at least 10 to 15 different things in the next 2 years, I will find something that works and make those backup plans unnecessary. Sure, I have to think about those scenarios and manage risk like all entrepreneurs do, but I am committed to building a life around what I love now. Life is too short for me to do anything else. My ultimate dream and vision is to live a life free of any immediate concern over time and money. I feel like we've made progress toward this goal, but not quite there yet. A mentor of mine once asked me that question of what I would do if time and money was of no concern, and he prompted me to answer that question fast without thinking too much about it. I told him I would probably spend most of my days tinkering with technology and using my creativity and engineering skills to try to build new things that are both cool and useful. That I would be an inventor. That I would spend as much quality time as I could with my family traveling the world. That I would buy a big house on the mountain or hilltop with a beautiful view of the city skyline or the ocean. But not for vanity. For another place to spend quality time gathering and barbecuing with friends and family around a swimming pool or fire pit, relaxing, sharing stories, and enjoying our limited time together here on Earth. A place like Tony Stark's house with a beautiful view that relaxes me and inspires my creativity when I'm alone, where I could also have the ultimate man cave in the basement or a large separate building with an electronics lab, machine shop, and studio for me to build and create in. So I aspire to be sort of like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or any other wealthy person of the world, even if on a smaller scale. With that cash cow business or a big exit that puts me in a position to live the rest of my days working on my own personal moonshot projects, doing the things in life I was destined to do. On this journey, I hope to set an example for my kids and inspire them to never give up and to achieve their dreams someday, no matter what they are. If this sounds interesting to you to follow me as a growing entrepreneur towards my ultimate goals, then please join me on this channel. I'm sure there will be many ups and downs along the way, but I promise you I will keep trying until I make it, even if it takes me another 30 years. And finally, if you can relate to what I'm saying and think you are in a similar position, should you do the same? Should you quit your job to be an entrepreneur or to pursue your passion full-time? Honestly, it's really hard for me to answer that question. Everyone's situation is different, but I would probably say no, unless your situation is exactly the same as mine. But I would also say, don't listen to me. Make your own decisions. It's your life and your money. The only safe advice that I'm totally comfortable sharing with anyone is more along the lines of what I have tried to do that I think most people should at least try first. It's a simple 3-step process. Number 1, make money on your own. Number 2, surpass your current income for some period of time, like 6 months. And number 3, then when you do quit your job and get all of your time back to focus on your own thing, it should continue to grow. Except don't take too long to get through steps 1 and 2 like I did. Keep trying something different every 2 to 3 months to make money on your own. Then when you find something that makes money, see if you can get it to grow fast enough that it will not take too long to replace and exceed your current income. So I hope this has been helpful for you and worth your time if you made it this far. Maybe leave a comment and let me know whether it has been helpful for you or not. I know it has been very helpful for me to gain clarity and to prepare for the adventure ahead. And I'll leave you with this.
Disraeli said this: "A human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment."